Coming up on Need to Know, who can help end the cycle of poverty in Rochester? According to Bob Duffy, area businesses can play a key role. He joins us to explain his charge to Rochester companies that some say is doable and can work. Also on the show, as the landscape of late-night television is changing, a Rochester comedic variety show offers a new option for viewers on the web. And the whimsical work of artist Cordell Cordaro. He gives us an inside look at his approach to painting and his take on the business of art. It's all coming up right now on Need to Know. He's only been in his new post as president and CEO of Rochester Business Alliance for a little over 4 months now. But it seems former Rochester Mayor and Lieutenant Governor of New York, Bob Duffy, has been busy. His most recent effort is being hailed by some as a move that won't only help break misconceptions, but could also help break the cycle of poverty in Rochester. He's calling on the RBA's members to fill open positions within their businesses with at least one person living in poverty. Joining me now to discuss why he believes this could work, what it involves, and other projects on his radar is Bob Duffy. And it's great to have you on the program.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So I know that there are viewers thinking and saying right now, oh my gosh, it's been a long time since we've seen Bob Duffy on Need to Know. So just to begin, I'd like to have you briefly share, how is the transition going for you from life in politics to life as leader of the RBA? Is it a natural fit?
The transition has been great. I'm home. I'm sleeping at home at night. I have had a chance to meet and work with great people for the last 4 years with the governor and have established great relationships, but it's great to be home. There's so many wonderful things going on in Rochester in this region right now, and it's great to be a part of those. So I have died and gone to heaven.
Good. Well, very good. Well, I know that, or I understand when you were making the transition to the Rochester Business Alliance, you immediately began the process of meeting with members of the RBA. We're talking about 2,000 members. And you wanted to listen and learn. And I'm curious to know, did you discover anything through that process that contributed to the One Launch effort with the RBA, which I mentioned in the intro to this segment, and the request made from businesses to hire at least one person living in poverty?
Yes, that's a great question. I have met with every board member. I meet with members consistently, all of our employees, and the theme did come up on several occasions. What can the business community do to really help this issue of poverty in Rochester? And certainly there are things that we can do. So that was in essence the genesis of starting this one job effort, asking each RBA member if they could find us one job, one position that we could end up filling with a man or woman who is under the level of poverty at this point, and give them a chance to break that cycle.
And there are, I understand, a lot of businesses in the area will say, we have open positions, but we can't necessarily find the right candidates for this job. There's this skills gap. And I want to know what skills gap is most relevant in the Rochester area, and can this one job launch help to fill that gap?
If I were to look at why we are in a situation we are today with poverty, I think we have to look at education, the outcomes of education, and if we graduate less than half our kids every year from our city school district, if you do the math over 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, it gives you a sense of where we're at. If you don't graduate from high school, you have a very poor chance of ever surviving economically and really thriving in this community. So I think education is a cornerstone. That's probably one of the biggest issues that we face. Next, manufacturing has changed. It's no longer putting a screw into a camera in Rochester. It is a highly sophisticated, highly technological enterprise where you need a high school education, but also probably a year or 2 years of training, maybe an associate's degree through an MCC or FLCC, but really to be trained specifically for those positions. And those are the hardest ones for companies to fill at this time. And you're absolutely right. It's not a lack of jobs. We have help-wanted signs everywhere. It's matching up people to fill those jobs.
Is there a program that exists right now, you mentioned MCC, that is tackling the education and the workforce development that you think, is promising? We often hear people say, well, Rochester has the resource. We have the resources here, but how can we better make use of those resources?
When I grew up, Edison Tech produced a tremendous amount of skilled workers in this area. The old Edison Tech on Clifford Avenue. I think one of the issues we have here is a culture of maybe reinforcing to kids, go on to college, get a white-collar job, and everybody wants to be a CEO, but they don't want to end up maybe pursuing certain trades, certain professions that would be, to me, very lucrative, jobs that start off paying $40,000 or $50,000 a year. We have Monroe Community College, and I give kudos to Ann Kress. We have FLCC, Finger Lakes Community College. Barbara Risser is a president there. I think our community colleges are doing a great job. We have a workforce development group. I want to give Danny Wegman and Paul Spranza from Wegmans and their team great credit for really leading the effort. I think the opportunities are there. I think the key issue is getting these young men and women into those positions, getting them through and getting them placed into jobs.
Well, James Norman, president and CEO of Action for a Better Community, was quoted in the Democrat Chronicle as saying, this type of commitment is overdue from someone in your position, and he called your plan a commendable gesture that could dispel myths about hiring people in poverty, this idea or misconception that they don't want to work. And that being said, how are businesses responding to your request? And is your request as simple as it sounds?
Well, it was a simple request. We have hundreds of members in the RBA. And if you look at the MSA of the Finger Lakes region, there are literally 38,000 businesses in that MSA. Asking for one job, in many cases those jobs already exist, has been pretty easy. I am getting deluged with emails and calls now. Actually, I met with James Norman, Hilda Rosario Escher yesterday. We met with also leaders of the Urban League and Todd Baxter from the Veterans Outreach Center. We shared, I think, 5 pages of job descriptions. And asking those leaders to go back and send us some potential applicants to fill those jobs. I want to give credit to Andy Galena from Galena Development, who requested 3 laborers. We're able to fill those positions. We have 3 people working right now for Galena Development. They're labor positions, but it is a start. So we are organizing the process as we go along. I think the response has been terrific. It's going to only keep building. And to your point about the people in poverty, I mean, I grew up here. I think in my first 2 careers, I have had a snapshot and a bird's eye view of people in this community. And there are so many people that want to work, that want the opportunities. It may be impediments like transportation, education, skills. Our job is to help get those and fill those gaps because out there, I happen to think, is an incredible pool of workers that we can bring here. And one point I want to make during my many tours as a head of the RBA, there's a company in this region who has a footprint across the globe. They have a large company, hundreds of employees here in Rochester. They had to send to Monterrey, Mexico to bring talent to their manufacturing floor because they could not get that talent here. And the company manager said Monterrey, Mexico, does a better job preparing its workforce for these types of jobs than we do. And I have to say, that was a huge wake-up call for me and for us.
When and how will you know if this plan is successful? And will you in some way inform the public as to the results?
Well, I believe in measuring success and measuring progress. Here's my point. This is not a perfect solution. This is not going to change the cycle of poverty, but I think if we all do something, many hands make light work, and this is just a very simple step, and it really shows the business community, and I'll speak for the RBA, have been tremendous. I work for a great board. Danny Wegman is on that board, Joel Seligman, and so many other CEOs. People want to help. I think sometimes business is frustrated with the lack of a flow of good workers to their companies. And on the other hand, we have to do a much better job in education, much better job in preparing people for the workforce. But I do think it will work. Every person we can get out of poverty into a job where he or she can make enough money to sustain themselves, buy a home, a car, support their families, it's a good thing. We just don't want to place them. We want to get them in a position where they will stay in that position and thrive.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. And it's May, so it's International Trade Month. And earlier this week, Senate Democrats blocked President Obama's key trade bill known as the TPA. And this is the Trade Promotion Authority, which the RBA strongly supports. And the bill would essentially clear the way for 2 major trade agreements to take place. And you wrote a piece in the DNC which expressing your support of the TPA. You said, without it, our standard of living and our standing in the world will suffer. And trade can be a complicated subject to navigate. So for people who don't have a sense of the role that international trade plays in Rochester, the economy, how would you explain that?
Well, I would say for those who oppose it, hop in a car with me. Let's go to Gleason Works and many companies in this area that export products every day overseas. Rochester families are living and surviving and supporting themselves, in many cases, based on our export strength. Outside of New York City, we are the #2 export location in New York State, one of the top export locations of anywhere in the country. Trade opportunities open up jobs. And sometimes those, there may be reasons for opposing it. In this particular case, I have a good friend in the White House who had contacted me, let me know what was happening, and I checked our chambers of commerce. We all support that. The business community support this because trade, it opens up doors and avenues for customers. If Gleason Works can open up new markets in China, or and this is a trans-Pacific partnership, China, Japan, Asia, Indonesia, if they're opening up new markets for their products, then Rochester is going to thrive. The money comes back here. Workers are here producing those products. It is a win-win. So I fully support the trade, and there has to be certainly regulations and oversight and ensuring that what we say we do. But sometimes it does not displace American workers like some would say. If anything, I could speak from my experience here with RBA members, it enhances our economic viability here in Rochester. It enhances jobs here in Rochester. And here's what goes back to one of my points. I don't think people even here in Rochester realize what a big export location we are. Trade means jobs. It means money coming back here. We, as an RBA organization, as a Chamber of Commerce, we support it.
And just, I want to mention this, in the coming weeks we'll be discussing the role of international sister cities. Rochester has 12, and the impact of these partners on our region. And I read an interesting article that said, you know, traditionally these relationships were created to facilitate and expand like culture and education opportunities and that sort of a thing. But it said in today's climate that there's a need for these cities to expand these types of relationships and partnerships for economic development. And as former mayor, I wanted to get your take on that and see what your thoughts were.
Could not agree more. I visited Rennes, France, and also Waterford, Ireland. And in Waterford, we have a Bausch & Lomb plant on site there. Going back to my time in City Hall, I supported this as well. It is great to have the relationships and the dinners and all the festivities and the gifts and the tours. It's more important to make economic connections between these sister cities. And this really gives Rochester a great international reach and footprint. And I think everybody on both sides wants to make this happen. I think the goal is how do we make it happen, is making those connecting points. And so that is one thing. And I'll say before we finish here, I'm also doing the same thing around New York State. I'm hosting a meeting very soon that will bring leaders from around all the regions of the state to look for ways, how can we connect Rochester companies with companies in Syracuse, Buffalo, Long Island, New York City, and North Country, Southern Tier. A lot of the greatest opportunities that we have are not only abroad with sister cities, but they're right here in our own region and state, and we just sometimes don't connect those dots. So I agree 100% with the sister city opportunities, and Rochester and Mayor Warren are really well poised to take advantage of that.
Bob Duffy, President and CEO of Rochester Business Alliance, thank you for your time today.
So
I look forward to having you back in the near future.
I look forward to it.
The late-night television climate is certainly in the midst of change. Fans are adjusting to the absence of some of their favorite hosts. Chelsea Handler and Craig Ferguson have already taken their last bow, and it's the countdown right now to the final episode for David Letterman of The Late Show. Jon Stewart says adios to The Daily Show in August. In the midst of all these changes, there happens to be a local comedic variety show which appears to be a spin-off of sorts of late-night television. But this show is on the web, and the guests are all from Rochester. The online program is called Rochester Live. Take a look.
It's Rochester Live.
Welcome to the show.
On today's show, from Channel 8 News, Natasha Alford.
Welcome to the show.
And your host, Ron Ferrara.
Hey, Mike. Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you. Oh, come on. Too much. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Welcome back to another episode of Rochester Live. We're excited to be here. Back for our second episode now. Hey, with me as always, Mike Scipione and the Genesee River Boys. How's it going, boys? Let's get this started. There's a lot bugging me. A lot going on right now.
Really?
Yeah. You could even say that there's a lot Ron My Nerves. We're going to take a look at what's Ron My Nerves. You know what's Ron My Nerves right now? The cold. It's freezing outside. You can see her breath indoors. It's ridiculous. You've seen her on Channel 8. Here she is, Natasha Elford. Thank you so much for coming. Please have a seat. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Everyone knows you from Channel 8, where thousands of people see you. But this is the internet, where millions of people watch, so welcome to the big leagues.
Joining me to discuss the concept of Rochester Live, how it's being received in our area, and how the web has the ability to grow this type of programming beyond our community. I'm joined by Rochester Live host Ron Ferrara and journalist Leah Stacy, who also serves as a professor of communications and media at Nazareth College. And thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So Ron, just to begin, I have to ask about the concept for Rochester Live and how it developed. You call it this organically grown show with the finest handpicked guests and ethically sourced jokes. So talk a little bit about why you thought this would be a good fit for Rochester.
You know, there's so many interesting things going on in Rochester and so many cool people that are out there, and there really isn't a program like it, at least not in a comedic capacity. Not that we're super funny, but it's nice to put a sarcastic spin on things and, you know, say things that people aren't usually allowed to say on TV.
Well, in watching your previous episodes, it's clear you play your role as host very straight. It's also as though you're paying homage to The Tonight Show. And at the same time, though, you're mimicking the show as well. So I wanted to know, is that your goal, or is there one that you prefer to do more of over the other?
I mean, if we could get paid to do it full time, yeah, I'd love to do The Tonight Show, absolutely. But yeah, no real end goal. We're just having fun with it. You know, just an idea that we wanted to run with and see how Rochester received it. And I think we're having a lot of luck so far.
Okay, well, we'll get into that in just a moment. I want to ask you, Leah, in your opinion, what type of influence and impact do you think that a web TV show like this can have in Rochester? I mean, it's got the comedy, the satire, local faces, the band. You know, you discuss local news topics at times. I guess how can the Rochester residents really connect to it?
Well, I think that they've done a great job of staying relevant. The guests have been varied, and I personally connected to it because these are people my age doing this. And, you know, if I bring that up in class, it's really neat for my students to see, you know, here's people a couple years out of college, and they're just doing this. They don't have a full budget. They can't, you know, they don't have a full production team, but they're launching it on the web. And, you know, we're seeing so many people cutting the cord now. So it's awesome that it's on the web because you can watch it any time that works for you. I can show it in class. It's just, I think it's so neat. And he's right, there's nothing like it here.
And who is your ideal audience?
Everybody. We try to play to everybody. You know, we try to keep the jokes open to any audience member, not just cater to one particular crowd. We want it to be relatable, just to anybody who lives in Rochester or the area who's gonna get it.
And how, I have to ask, how do you get your guests to go along with some of your jokes? So I saw when Adam Chodak was on from 13 Wham, I mean, you guys are talking, having this casual conversation as what appears to be icing is being caked all over your face. I mean, what kind of waiver are they signing?
None. And I got to give Adam huge props on doing that. We don't usually prepare the guests ahead of time with any of that sort of thing, because though it's not actually live, we shoot it as if it is. So we cut to commercial break and said, hey, Adam, here's the idea we want to go with. Either we can both do this or I'm doing this, but one of us is getting frosting on our faces. And he was a good sport about it, thankfully, and we got away with it somehow.
Leah, is there a sense that locally grown programs like Rochester Live that have a late night TV show like style or feel is part of this larger pool of web TV shows that we're seeing right now? I'm curious to find out whether you think this is a style that's growing and could maybe expand even beyond Rochester.
Yeah, well, it's always been a popular thing, especially with the college age. And, you know, the fact that we don't have to see the band going out in between the segments and interviewing people in the streets of New York City, but it's East Ave, you know, it's University. It's the places that are familiar to us, and maybe people that we know, maybe it's our next door neighbor getting stopped on the street. You know, I think that you start locally, and then they're picking relevant topics and topics that can put Rochester in a national spotlight. And I think that's where it gets really cool because you can take it and launch it, and then the web gives you this platform to just send it anywhere. You know, anybody can watch this.
So talk about how it is being received. What type of feedback are you getting, and I guess how do you measure the reactions from the local community?
It's been fun. Just feedback from friends and family. Everyone seems to love it, and then people reaching out to us just to say, "Hey, we've seen your show. It's incredible." I've only been recognized in public once, but it took me aback because
So
they're like,
far.
What show? What are you talking about? Oh, that show. Yeah,
Right.
I forgot about that. But yeah, it's been exciting. We're kind of going with the fake it till you make it kind of premise, and it seems to be working. Everyone believes that we're a talk show, so it's working for us.
What do, in terms, I want viewers to get a sense of what goes into the production, because you were mentioning we build the set every time we come in here.
Yes, so we only shoot once a month just because of time and budget. The whole show's done out of pocket by the cast and crew. And the space that we rent, it's basically an empty room. We have to set it up every time. So we come in a few hours early, we hang lights and curtains and build the furniture and have to get it ready to go each episode. And there's usually a few writer meetings that precede that. So it's more than just a one-day ordeal. It usually takes the whole month to prepare.
Oh, very good. It's entertaining. I've enjoyed it, the episodes that I've seen. So Leah Stacy and Ron Ferrara, thank you so much for joining me. And you can check out previous episodes of Rochester Live at rochesterlive.tv. They're also on Facebook and Twitter, where you can learn more about upcoming guests. For some of you, the work of artist Cordell Cordaro is fairly easy to spot in an area restaurant or gallery. His colorful characters can catch just about anyone's attention as one ponders the story behind the painting. You may remember the last time we spoke with Cordaro, he was describing his bicycle paintings, which were inspired by the animated film The Triplets of Belleville. They were featured in a special exhibit at Roco. And this Saturday, he'll be unveiling his most recent work at an exhibition in Canandaigua. The busy artist was recently interviewed for WXXI's Arts in Focus program. He describes in greater detail his painting style and shares his perspective on the business of art. Take a look.
My name's Cordell Cordaro. I'm a Rochester, New York artist, and we're in Blue Wolf right now where my art is up. I've been doing art for about 9 years full-time as a career, and I love it. It's my passion. My artwork is kind of abstract in nature, in the sense that I'm not trying to portray a still life or like a realistic painting. I'm really trying to capture an idea or an emotion, kind of inner emotions coming out. And I think people vibe with that when they see my artwork. There's also lots of color. I just think it grabs people's attention and also shows my passion for life really in general. And that in itself inspires me, and I think that inspires people when they see my artwork. I've always been an artist. I went to art school, Alfred University, art and design, and really a little bit after that, I don't think I was focused on an art career, not till maybe my mid-20s, at which point I started to seek out opportunities to sell my artwork. And local gallery, museum, Artisan Works was a huge part of that. They started buying my paintings, and I kind of went from being just an artist, kind of knowing I'm an artist, but not really doing much outside of just my own drawings and paintings, to really working at it, selling them, and thinking long term. And it was kind of like a metamorphosis in my life. It opened me up to the business side of art. Business surrounds art, in my opinion, and it's really, artists have a chance to be part of, it's a multi-billion-dollar global art market. So it's out there, and so artists have the opportunity to be part of that. And I think being an entrepreneur, artists are positioned perfectly because they have imagination. If people say no, you say yes, and you keep moving forward, and doors open. If you go a kind of a gallery route, you're kind of giving the reins to somebody else, so you don't have to worry about that. You kind of concentrate on just the art, but you're not putting yourself in a position to meet new people, really face to face, and sell your work and what's involved in that. You know, pricing and getting paid and how are you going to get paid and the transactions. It's rewarding for me to be doing that as well. I think if you want to make money from your creativity, you shouldn't be ashamed of that. It's really about creating stability and security in your own life, financial stability and security. So why wouldn't you do that, you know? And it's also more empowering because you're taking control of your own life. When you're selling artwork, you naturally know what sells and what doesn't, and that might also go to the selling out thing. I don't think it's ever selling out, but you have to be careful, kind of towing the line of creating art that you know works for you and is also something that you'll be able to sell in the future. Money isn't the center of it. The art is the center. So that's always the number one. That's the passion. And I think if you put money first, you're gonna have problems. For me, like my path is that I'm as much of an entrepreneur, I feel like, as an artist. So that to me is the business side of it.
You can check out the newest work from local painter Cordell Cordaro beginning this Saturday at Finger Lakes Gallery and Frame in Canandaigua. His pieces will be on display through June 27th. And that's it for this edition of Need to Know. I'm Helene Bianduti-Hofer. Thank you for joining me tonight and throughout the weekend. And thank you for supporting news and public affairs programming on WXXI TV.